This is me, July 29th, 2008. It is 12:33 Mountain Time. Covering all my bases, making sure that if something happens to me or my family or all of us, that our assets are documented. Hope everything works out and we're all happy and live happily ever after as much as that's possible.
Do you feel like you're under arrest?
I don't know. I didn't even think it was that. It didn't even sink in yesterday, but...
Suzanne Cox Powell suddenly vanishes from her home in December of 2009. Her husband is interviewed by police, stating that him and their 2 sons were out camping in the middle of the night without Suzanne. Their 2 young sons are interviewed, and their story is far different from that of Josh, their father. This case is far more sinister and brutal than just a suspicious husband and a missing wife. Suzanne Cox and Josh Powell met each other when Suzanne was just 18, pursuing her career in cosmetology. Josh was in his 20s, and the 2 were members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and began getting to know each other when they both enrolled in an Institute of Religion course. Suzanne and Josh quickly got engaged, as Josh had proposed to Suzanne, even though they hadn't known each other for that long. The 2 were complete strangers in October and went on to be engaged by the end of December. The couple went on to get married at the LDS Portland, Oregon Temple on April 6, 2001. Suzanne was 1 out of 4 girls and was described to be a sweet, caring girl who took part in church activities such as choir. At the time when Susan and Josh met, he was in college for business. The young lovers were completely happy, but her sister Denise wasn't quite fond of the fast-paced love story. After the young couple is married, they move in with Josh's father, Stephen, in South Hill, but soon moved to West Valley City, Utah in 2004. The couple went on to have a family. Suzanne gave birth to 2 sons, Charlie and Braden. The nightmare begins on December 7th of 2009, a Monday morning where Charlie and Braden didn't show up for daycare. It was unusual for Suzanne to not drop the boys off by 7 a.m. as she had to be at work for 7 a.m. It was also unusual that she wouldn't call and notify Debbie Caldwell, the daycare provider, for Charlie and Braden. She tries contacting Suzanne and Josh, to which she receives no answer. She then decides to visit their home to quickly check in. As she gets to the house, she sees that their driveway has no tire tracks, meaning that they hadn't left the home. It was a snowy morning on December 7th, so if the family had left the home, the prints would be evident in the snow. She knocks on the Powell's door and receives no answers. Concerned, she calls the emergency contact, Josh's mom, Terry Powell, and sister, Jennifer Graves. The 2 assume that it may be carbon monoxide poisoning, as they assumed that they were still in their beds and dead. Terry Powell phones the police, and they arrive at Suzanne's and Josh's home. Police decide to break into the home. In the home, police finds no Josh, Charlie, Braden, or Suzanne, but finds Susan's belongings, including her purse, car keys, and credit cards. The home was relatively clean, but there were some strange arrangements in the home. When they entered the home, they found 2 box fans pointed to the carpet, which was a bit strange to authorities. The last person who had seen the family was Giovanna. Suzanne had asked Giovanna to visit their home the evening of December 6th, where she helped out with knitting and crocheting. While Giovanna and Suzanne were in the living room knitting, Josh and the boys were in the kitchen making pancakes. Josh had made a phone call to his father, asking him for a particular pancake recipe. Giovanna stated that the way Josh was making these pancakes were very unusual. He made each pancake individually and ate with the boys at the dining table and served Giovanna and Susan in the living room. Soon after eating the pancakes, Susan didn't feel well and decided to lie down. This is when Josh announced to Giovanna that she can leave. As Giovanna begins to leave, Josh and the boys head out to go sledding in the snow, and that's the last time she ever saw anyone. 24 hours after Suzanne and Josh goes MIA, Jennifer Graves receives a call from her brother and asks about Suzanne, to which he responds, that he hasn't seen her and that she went to work. The evening of December, around 5 p.m., Josh shows up at the house and tells everyone that he took the boys to an overnight camping trip and left Suzanne in the house. Police find that Josh has Susan's cell phone with the SIM card removed and couldn't explain why he had Susan's phone or why the SIM was removed. Police also find a generator, blankets, a gas canister, tarps, and a shovel. Josh is immediately taken to be interviewed. Police noticed that Josh was not providing enough information and was rather difficult with answering the questions. During Josh's interview, Josh is asked why he was not answering his cell phone and states that as he was out camping, he wanted to preserve his battery, but an officer noticed that Josh's phone had been charging in the center console of his van. Charlie Powell, Suzanne's and Josh's son, is interviewed and tells authorities that his mom had joined them on the trip but didn't come back.
Well, what did you do last night? Before you went to bed?
Go camping.
You went camping? Tell me about camping.
Camping is like where you have s'mores.
Where you have s'mores? Yeah.
And s'mores start with marshmallows and graham crackers and chocolate and another graham cracker.
The s'mores have marshmallows, graham crackers, and chocolate, and another graham cracker?
Yeah.
I see. So you had s'mores last night?
Yeah.
Where were you camping at?
I was camping at Dinosaur National Park.
Dinosaur Park?
No, Dinosaur National Park.
Dinosaur National Park. Who were you camping with?
My dad and my mom and my little brother.
Dad, your mom, and your brother?
Yeah.
Did you sleep over there? Yeah? You went camping with your mom, your dad, your little brother, and you had s'mores?
Yeah.
Was that fun?
Yeah.
Yeah?
No,
Mommy and Daddy and little brother have fun too?
Yeah.
When you were camping, tell me some of the things you and your mom and dad and brother did.
My mom and dad and my brother did. My mom and dad and my brother did. They put up a fire. So did my little brother.
They built a fire?
Yeah.
Okay. How did you guys get to where you were camping?
We got in the airplane, and the airplane went to Dinosaur National Park.
Oh. You went to an airplane yesterday?
Yeah, and our airplane bring us to Dinosaur National Park.
Okay. So when you guys made the s'mores last night, you make s'mores last night with your mom and dad?
And we hold the marshmallows over a fire with a stick that can hold our marshmallows.
Now, police get back to Josh telling him about the interview they had with his son, Charlie. Josh denies that Susan was with them and demands a lawyer. As Josh's van was at the police station for searching, they place a GPS on the van to see where Josh would go once he is outside. However, Josh does not pick up his van. Instead, Josh goes to the airport and rents a car and vanishes for 18 hours. When the rental is returned, there is an additional 807 miles added to the vehicle, and to this day, no one knows where Josh went in those 18 hours. On the 10th of December, police searched the Simpson Springs campground, where Josh said him and the kids visited. Police found no evidence of camping on the site. There were some details in Suzanne and Josh's marriage that wasn't exactly what people would assume just from looking at the couple. Suzanne's and Josh's marriage was crumbling slowly. The couple would fight often in front of the kids, and Josh wasn't as affectionate anymore towards Suzanne, almost as if he wasn't interested in her anymore. He also controlled the spending of money in the household, even though Suzanne was the breadwinner, buying luxuries for himself and not allowing Susan the same. During this time, Suzanne had started seeking to get a divorce. This all occurred in 2008. When Suzanne gets into contact with a divorce attorney, she's advised to film everything that is in her house. Josh had warned Suzanne that if she divorces him, she would never see the boys again, forcing her to stay. Police discovers Suzanne's safety box, kept at the bank, that Josh didn't know about. There, they find a written will where she describes the state that her and Josh's marriage was in. She also talks about $1 million life insurance policy Josh had taken out on her, and even went on to say that if anything happens to her, it may not be an accident. Josh is now made a person of interest in the case, but isn't arrested. Huge searches begin for Suzanne at the desert, but nothing is ever found. In the meantime, Josh decides to take the boys to Washington to stay with his father, Stephen. He isolates himself in Washington with his father, not looking for his wife or speaking to police. 1 year after Susan vanishes, Josh and his father, Stephen, make the allegation that Suzanne had run off with Stephen Kocher, a Utah man who had went missing in December of 2009. They suggest that the pair had run off to Brazil to start a new life, where Kocher would serve as an LDS missionary. But there is zero evidence that backs up these claims. Police continue to search for Suzanne all through the summer of 2011, but nothing turns up. Around the same time, it is revealed that Stephen, Suzanne's father-in-law, had made some sexual advances on Suzanne while she was living with him earlier in her marriage. Stephen would steal Suzanne's underwear and secretly film her. However, Stephen denies that these were ever true. However, about a month later, police arrest Stephen on child pornography and voyeurism charges after police finds thousands of images of young girls and women, including Susan, dressing. These photos were taken without their knowledge, and 2 of his neighbors were victims of this. Charlie and Braden are now taken away and are placed in custody. Susan's parents, Chuck and Judy, files to get custody of the boys. The boys are then temporarily placed with their grandparents after a child welfare action is filed. The case involving the custody of the boys continued throughout 2011 to 2012. In the beginning of 2012, the investigation for Suzanne continues, and Josh's computer is found with disturbing images including simulated child pornography, bestiality, and incest. Not too long following this, in February, the state of Washington rules that Charlie and Braden will remain with their maternal grandparents. At the hearing, the judge orders that Josh Powell undergoes a psychosexual evaluation by a court-appointed examiner. The exam determines that Josh had narcissistic personality traits. The examiner also finds that Powell is also equipped with adequate parenting skills and recommends that Josh partake in supervised visits to his sons several times a week. On the 5th of February, just 4 days after he is allowed supervised visitations, Elizabeth Griffith arrives at Josh Powell's place, with Charlie and Braden for a supervised visit. When she arrives, Powell slams the door on Griffith after his sons are inside. She then calls 911 and tries to get inside to the boys. The dispatcher makes it difficult for Griffith, asking her multiple questions before dispatching police to the area.
Okay, how long will it be? I don't know, ma'am. They have to respond to emergency, life-threatening situations first. The first available deputy... Well, this could be life-threatening. Got the kids in the house and he won't let me in. Whose house is it? Josh Powell. And who supervises? And he is the husband that I supervise. So you supervise and you're doing the visit? Yeah, I supervise yourself?
Once Josh and his sons are locked inside, the worst happens. Griffith watches as the house explodes into flames. Josh lit his home and set off an explosion, killing him and his 2 sons. Police arrived at the area once everything had taken place, and all 3 father and sons are now dead. It is alleged that the dispatcher dispatched police to the area about 8 minutes after Griffith's initial phone call. The scene and bodies are investigated, and both Charlie and Braden and are marked with chopping injuries on their heads and neck. It is believed that Josh used a hatchet on the boys before deliberately setting off an explosion. Authorities find over 2 5-gallon cans of gasoline on the premise, as well as evidence of gasoline spread throughout the home. Emails sent prior to the explosion confirmed that the fire was intentional. This devastating news shocks the public and Susan's friends and family, leading people to believe that Josh Powell killed Suzanne Cox Powell. The following year, around the same time Josh killed himself and his 2 sons, Josh's brother Michael, who is believed by many to have helped Josh with Suzanne's disappearance, kills himself by jumping off a parking garage in Minneapolis, taking any secrets with him to the grave. As Stephen Powell learns about his son and grandson's incident, he doesn't seem bothered or taken aback by the news. He is later sentenced in 2015 to 5 years in prison. To 5 years in prison for his child pornography charges. Later in 2018, after he is released from prison, Stephen Powell dies at Tacoma, Washington Hospital. It's coming up to be 14 years since the 28-year-old vanished, and authorities are still searching tirelessly for Suzanne. With Josh and Stephen now dead, it makes the case difficult to move forward, with no one to interrogate, but authorities refuse to give up on the tragedy.